Hello, everyone. I'm ZHAO Chuang. Today, we are going to draw a Jackson's chameleon. Chameleons are a big family coming in many species, but with similar body anatomical structures. The main feature of chameleons is their long and narrow body, and on their back, there is a row of sail-like neural spines. The back spine extends out high, and forms a row of sail-like structure. Its tail is long, thin and very flexible. If not grasping the branches, it will curl up. Although its forelimbs are slim and relatively weak, they are good at climbing trees. To adapt for climbing, its forelimbs have evolved into a shape of pincers, in which its thumb and index finger fuse into one group, and the other three fingers form another group, like wearing a mitten. Then among chameleons, the Jackson's chameleon is very peculiar as its head has 3 horns. This is rarely seen among chameleons. Some chameleons have a protrusion on its nose, and some would grow a somewhat slender structure. But like this, to having 3 horns on the head is seldom seen. In addition, there are some other features, such as its eyes. The eyes of chameleons on the skull are relatively big, but the eye opening is somewhat small. So when drawing its eyes, we should show this point. There are folded skin surrounding its little eyes, and extending all the way to the whole eye sockets. As the 2 eyes of chameleons are very mobile, and can see different directions separately, these folds can help them to rotate. What's more, chameleons are able to change their skin coloration depending on the scales on their body. These scales contain very flexible pigments that enables them to change their patterns. Besides the pigments inside the scales, another feature is that some large scales scatter in between the small scales. So when drawing, we need to show the large scales and the bumps. Okay, now let's start to draw this Jackson's chameleon. Let's start to sketch a rough composition by using loose strokes. Its eyes are about this size. Its head is shaped like this. Let's draw it raising its head. When drawing its body, we try to make it as streamlined as possible. Then we draw the tail. Chameleons like to have their tails curled, so we draw the end of its tail being curled. Then there are the hind and front legs. We draw it holding the trunk. Then let's draw another finger. We draw the trunk and a thicker branch. After determining the general frame, we start to draw its details. Let's draw its eyes. It has very large eye sockets, but the openings of the eyes are small, like this. One of the characteristics of chameleons is that their eyes are relatively flexible, and both eyes can look in different directions at the same time. Its large eye sockets are surrounded by wrinkles. Its mouth is expressionless and relatively short, with a ring of large scales around it. Then let's draw its nostrils. Its chin and the part behind its eyes. Jackson's chameleons have a small head frill formed by the parietal and squamosal bones extending backward, similar to ceratopsians. There's a series of relatively large scales on the edges of the head frill. We can highlight these key scales. Jackson's chameleons possess 3 horns. somewhat reminiscent of Triceratops. However, unlike Triceratops, its two horns above the eyes are relatively short, while the rostral horns are relatively large. These horns have some ring growth lines arranged circle after circle. Now we've finished the head. Next, let's draw its body. Chameleons have relatively high backs. Its neural spines are high, a bit like many dinosaurs. It's kind of like Spinosaurus, but not that exaggerated. It has striped muscles on both sides of its body. At the base of its shoulders, there are many loose wrinkles. Let's draw its arms. Due to the small size of animals such as chameleons, they don't need very strong muscles. So their arms and legs are very thin. Let's draw its front legs. The chameleon's front legs are like wearing mittens which divide its 5 fingers into 2 groups, 3 on the outside and 2 on the inside. Next we draw its throat, followed by its belly, which can be drawn rounded a bit. Then we draw the hand on the other side. Like bean sprouts, the fingers are divided into 2 groups, one with 2 fingers and the other with 3. Then there are its arms. Let's draw the previous trunk clearly, and its claws are on the trunk. Let's draw its hind legs. It has thin thighs and thick calves. Like its front legs, its hind claws are divided into 2 groups grasping the branch. Next, let's draw its tail. The tail is long and the end is rolled up like a snail shell. We draw the muscles on the sides of the tail. On the sides of its body, let's draw some big bulges. Chameleons have many small scales, with larger scales sandwiched among the small scales, like this. It has a series of short, spiky scales on its back. We can draw some ring-shaped wrinkles of scales on its legs. Good, we've finished drawing this Jackson's chameleon.